On World News Tonight, this Friday, crisis in the Kremlin. A defiant Boris Yeltsin says he will not step down as president. But will his opponents force him out? Another very shaky day on Wall Street. The weight of the world on investors' shoulders. And the death of Diana 1 year later. The unfinished investigation. An uncertain legacy. We'll take a closer look.
From ABC News World Headquarters in New York, this is World News Tonight with Peter Jennings. Sitting in tonight, Forrest Sawyer.
Good evening. 1 day after reports swept through Moscow that Russian President Boris Yeltsin was about to leave office, he announced he's going nowhere. But Yeltsin remains under tremendous pressure. The Russian currency and the stock market are down sharply. Opposition leaders, particularly communists, still want Yeltsin out, and the troubled economy returned to greater state control. And tonight it is far from clear who will win the struggle. ABC's Mike Lee is in Moscow.
After spending most of the week out of sight, Boris Yeltsin popped up today like a political jack-in-the-box, meeting with acting Prime Minister Chernomyrdin, with the President of Bulgaria, and with U.S. Undersecretary of State Strobe Talbot, who is here to discuss next week's summit with President Clinton. Yeltsin was clearly trying to calm fears that his country is falling apart and taking him with it. On television tonight, he was emphatic. "I want to say I'm not going anywhere. I will not resign." He repeated he would not run for re-election in the year 2000. Yet Yeltsin may not have the final say. His communist opponents are still insisting he must go, and they're still discussing ways in which the president might exit gracefully. As for Mr. Yeltsin's economic policies, they took a major blow today. According to Kremlin sources, Prime Minister-designate Chernomyrdin, in order to get himself confirmed by Parliament, has agreed to abandon, at least for now, much of Russia's free market system for a more government-controlled economy. This would include government-regulated prices for many goods and services, a return to state ownership of some key industries and businesses, the printing of new money with a fixed exchange rate. A Yeltsin aide tried to put the best face on today's developments. I wouldn't say this is a return to the socialist system, he says, but in a time of crisis, the state should have a greater influence of control. Again today, outside banks, Russian citizens fought one another, desperate to withdraw their savings. Despite what the politicians are now promising to do to save the economy, many ordinary people just don't believe it. Mike Lee, ABC News, Moscow.
And just as Boris Yeltsin was unequivocal saying he would not step down, the Clinton administration was unequivocal today saying that President Clinton would not back out of next week's summit with the Russian president. ABC's John Cochran is at the White House.
The lesson from that.
Saying you don't visit friends just during good times, the president told a Massachusetts audience he should go to Russia.
And we should tell them that if they'll be strong and do the disciplined, hard things they have to do to reform their country, their economy, and get through this dark night, that we'll stick with them.
Certainly, the president is stuck with Yeltsin. Years ago, even though American intelligence reports initially dismissed him as a drunk and an emotional loudmouth, he emerged in the dying days of the Soviet Union as the man to deal with, and the U.S. embraced him. When Yeltsin ordered troops and tanks to deal with rebels within the Russian parliament, the U.S. solidly backed him. Mr. Clinton has managed a mostly comfortable relationship with him. Despite policy squabbles, they enjoyed each other personally. And through all of Yeltsin's troubles with Parliament, through all his health problems, through all his bizarre behavior and declining popularity at home, the U.S. has always preferred Yeltsin to the alternatives, especially to those who wanted to turn the clock back. Today, U.S. officials said even though Mr. Clinton has no money to offer Yeltsin, he will urge him not to backtrack too far on free market economics.
America has a strong interest in preventing Russia from backsliding and in promoting its stability and success.
Now that power is slipping toward Viktor Chernomyrdin, U.S. officials are divided. Vice President Gore knows him well and likes him, but other U.S. officials regard him as a mediocrity and fear he will go too far in trying to placate the communists.
Privately, the president's aides admit there is little he can do to influence events in Russia, but they say that by going there, he can at least try to find out exactly who is running the country. Forrest?
Well, that's what he can find out, but if he can't offer money, is there anything that he can offer to President Yeltsin?
Well, by showing up, he can offer support to Yeltsin. Yeltsin made it very clear in private talks with U.S. officials he needs Bill Clinton to go there, so the president's going.
John Cochran at the White House. Thanks very much, John. So what do the experts say about the Russian crisis and what it means for the United States? We talked to journalist David Remnick, who was in Moscow for years and is now the editor of the New Yorker magazine, David Kramer of the Carnegie Endowment for International Peace, and Peter Reddaway from George Washington University. Why has economic reform in Russia failed?
Russia, in order to keep political stability, has created a kind of pyramid scheme, a financial pyramid scheme, that gave the outward appearance of stability, but it put off the very vital changes that were needed. And what we're seeing now is the collapse of the biggest pyramid since Cheops.
Could the U.S. have done more to help?
It's endemic in Russia. They need to solve the problems internally. It's systemic.
Mr. Yeltsin and his governments have psychologically depended much too much on the outside world, on receiving advice, on receiving grants, on receiving loans from the outside world. They've had a sort of psychology of dependence, which has been very unhealthy.
Is Yeltsin's newly chosen Prime Minister, Viktor Chernomyrdin, the one to bring stability to Russia?
I don't think anyone should be terribly comforted by the return of Viktor Chernomyrdin.
His policies are, to a very considerable extent, responsible for the current collapse of the Russian financial system and the Russian economy.
How worried should we be about the communists sharing power?
I think it would be foolish to consider the Communist Party of today the very same Communist Party of the 1980s. That's a stereotype.
It doesn't portend, I think, a return to communism or the bad old days of the Soviet Union, but it's obviously not a good sign for reform either.
Is Russia on the verge of chaos?
It's difficult to say what chaos in Russia means. It's hard to imagine chaos beyond the current state of affairs.
If things continue to deteriorate financially and economically, and Mr. Yeltsin doesn't leave office, the situation 6 months from now could be really extremely bleak and dangerous.
Which means there will be a great deal to report as the situation develops. In just a moment, the other news today, trouble around the world hits home. The losses continue on Wall Street. And just when the East Coast let its guard down, Hurricane Bonnie unleashed more fury.
This is World News Tonight with Peter Jennings. Brought to you by Tylenol PM.
Morning seems so much brighter after a good night's sleep. That's why I love my Tylenol PM. Sometimes I have trouble sleeping. I used to worry about taking something. How would I feel in the morning? And then I tried Tylenol PM. It stops my pain and helps me sleep. So in the morning, I'm rested, refreshed, ready to make the most of my day.
Rest easy. It's Tylenol PM.
The wait is over. The sale you've been waiting for is back, and it's bigger than ever. It's the Ford Factory Authorized Clearance. Right now you can get big savings on tough Ford trucks, like low 1.9% APR financing on Explorer and F-Series, America's best-selling truck. Or get $1,000 cash back on Ranger. Plus, get factory authorized savings on other Ford cars and trucks in stock. Hurry, the Ford Factory Authorized Clearance ends soon at your local Ford dealer.
Heartburn at this hour is a nightmare, but the minute I take Maalox, I know help is on the way.
1 minute Maalox. Maalox goes to work on stomach acid in 1 minute. Pepcid AC could take over 45 minutes to affect acid, so count on 1 minute Maalox.
Economic news tonight. Stock markets around the world were down for the third straight day. The Dow Jones Industrials dropped more than 114 points to close at 8051. On the NASDAQ market, stocks dropped more than 46 points. American investors are reacting to a global economy that is in very real trouble. Here's ABC's Aaron Brown.
The lesson, which began with the currency crisis in Southeast Asia and grew strength from the real estate collapse in Hong Kong, was slammed home by the economic collapse this week in Russia.
We've been living in a fanciful idea that under the new paradigm, there are no risks, earnings rise forever, valuations rise forever. It just doesn't happen that way in the real world.
In the real world, when economies like Japan struggle and Indonesia collapses and Russia goes broke, there are real problems for investors, who have been lending those countries real dollars.
I know people who lost $750 million this week alone. There are other people who lost $2 billion in the last few months. There's some of the banks that have lost several billion dollars.
And in the real world, investors faced with increased risk move to protect themselves, which means that countries that need dollars now will pay higher interest rates for them, which will only slow their economies down even more. The emerging markets of Latin America are now the most vulnerable. The Venezuelan market alone is down more than 60%. And eventually, the U.S. economy will get hurt. We need to be able to sell our soft drinks to Latin America, our computers to Asia, our airplanes to everyone.
It's hard to imagine a boom continuing in the U.S. with over a third of the world's economies contracting.
The hurt has started. Wall Street investors have lost $2 trillion in the last 6 weeks as the market, driven by a shaky world economy, has come back to earth. Aaron Brown, ABC News, New York.
Other business news, Northwest Airlines is working overtime to avoid a crippling strike by its pilots. The two sides will keep talking tonight. The pilots say without a breakthrough, they will walk out at midnight. The airline has already canceled hundreds of flights to keep planes from being stranded if a strike is called. There is indication today that worries about the economy may be causing some people to spend less, even though income was up 0.5% in July. For the first time in 2 years, the amount of money Americans spent went down. President Clinton was out in public again today, this time at a civil rights gathering in Martha's Vineyard, where he has been vacationing. The president did not offer further apology for his relationship with Monica Lewinsky, but he did say this.
All of you know I'm having to become quite an expert in this business of asking for forgiveness. And it gets a little easier the more you do it. And if you have a family, an administration, a Congress, and a whole country to ask, you're going to get a lot of practice.
When we come back, Hurricane Bonnie goes out with fury.
Mom, the dog. It's just laying on the bun.
That dog needs a new trick.
Beat the cold bun blues with Pillsbury Crescent Dogs. Just wrap them and bake them.
Aren't these dogs fun?
Good dog.
You've got allergy eyes. Those itchy, watery, irritated eyes you just can't ignore. There are many products out there. Now there's Patanol. It's the prescription eye drop that works in minutes to relieve your itchy allergy eyes for 8 hours. Some people may experience headache, burning, or stinging. Take your contacts out before use. Ask your doctor or call now. Patanol. Works in minutes, lasts 8 hours.
I didn't need a wimpy laptop. I needed a desktop that travels. They said, "Do you like movies?" And I said, "You talking to me?"
Introducing Yourware, technology that grows with you. When you call 1-800-GATEWAY, we can custom build you a portable desktop with an Intel Pentium 2 processor and a DVD drive for movies, all for just $89 a month. And in 2 years, you can trade it in toward the purchase of a new one.
I love this part. Me too.
Call us, and let's talk about Yourware from Gateway.
You're on Love Matters. When Love Matters, I'm here to help. Dave?
Yeah, I'm having this problem with my girlfriend. It's kind of involved.
Diarrhea. Get it, and you want it gone.
You're a really good listener, you know.
He needs
really
Imodium AD.
Imodium Advanced. It's even better.
Only Imodium Advanced relieves diarrhea plus cramps and bloating by combining 2 medicines, and it's even faster than Imodium AD.
So was I right to invite my mom along on my honeymoon?
Oh, Dave, absolutely.
Imodium Advanced. Faster relief you can count on.
Let them go, let them play, let them grow a little more each day.
Got kids? You got stains. Let them go with new Spray and Wash Advanced Stain Care.
Let them go with new Spray and Wash.
Here in New York today, heavy security at the federal courthouse for the appearance of the second suspect in the U.S. Embassy bombing in Kenya. Mohammed Sadiq Odeh has told FBI agents the attacks in Kenya and in Tanzania were carried out by a terrorist group headed by Saudi millionaire Osama bin Laden. Court documents filed today said Odeh told the FBI he had been ordered to leave Kenya to meet personally with bin Laden. And he said he had been told many of the group's members had already left bin Laden's camps before the attacks in order to avoid U.S. retaliation. Back home, Hurricane Bonnie finally moving out to sea, but not before delivering a surprise hit on the Virginia coast. The storm that confounded the experts ended up inflicting quite a bit of damage. Here is ABC's Ron Claiborne in Norfolk, Virginia.
As the storm still churned through North Carolina, Virginia beach officials were feeling so confident that it was weakening, they decided to shut down the emergency center.
At 4 o'clock, we made our decision how we wanted to respond to it. We pretty much relieved and said, we're going to get through this very easy.
But when Bonnie brushed past southeastern Virginia, she had become a furious hurricane once again. For nearly 12 hours, Bonnie unleashed torrential rain and blasted the heavily populated Norfolk, Virginia beach area with winds of up to 75 miles per hour.
Like a wind sound, you know. Like...
Hundreds of falling trees pulled down electrical lines, cutting off power to nearly 500,000 people. At a Norfolk apartment house, high winds and drenching rain caused ceilings to buckle.
The roof was just being ripped off, and it was just like thunder.
Joanna Lena Weaver heard a loud cracking sound outside her door in the middle of the night. It was a tree falling on her house.
Supposed to be just a little tropical storm, a little blow through.
And what happened?
Well, it blew through.
Tonight the sky is bright, Bonnie is gone, but even now many people are still shaken by what turned out to be her second wind. Ron Claiborne, ABC News, Norfolk, Virginia.
The damage caused by Bonnie is already being calculated. The insurance industry said today that preliminary figures indicate it will pay an estimated $375 million for property damage by Hurricane Bonnie. That figure covers only damage caused by high winds, not by the flooding. A tropical storm off Japan today caused severe flooding and landslides, swamping roads and highways, killing at least 10 people. North of Tokyo, the rainfall has already broken records, and forecasters say there is more on the way. When we come back, the crash that killed Diana, a 12-month investigation. So why so few answers? We'll take a closer look.
Now's the time to discover the great selection of all 1998 Oldsmobile cars and trucks available at Discover Days. Consider the dramatically styled Aurora, the only domestic luxury car named a Best Buy 3 years straight by Consumers Digest. Right now, lease the Aurora for only $399 a month or enjoy over $3,000 in finance savings with 0.9% financing, our lowest rate of the year. Discover Days with 0.9% financing on all 98 Oldsmobiles at your local Oldsmobile dealer now.
Honey, is there any of that chicken cacciatore left?
Look in the freezer.
The amazing Hefty One-Zip food bag. It clicks closed to lock in freshness. One-Zip, the Hefty Duty food bag.
Hi, Pumpkin. It's late. You should be asleep.
Mommy said that I could stay up until you got home. What you eating?
Cheerios.
For dinner?
They taste just as good at night. And remember I told you they were good for my cholesterol?
Oh, yeah.
An important new study shows that 3 cups of Cheerios whole grain oats a day added to a low-fat diet can help push your cholesterol down.
You know what else is good for my heart? A hug from you.
The one and only Cheerios.
The war between the generals is over, but the war for human healing rages on.
Through 8 decades, the doctors of the American Medical Women's Association have worked for the health of all. Now, out of concern for your health, they've granted their acceptance to supplements for the very first time. These from Nature Made. Nature Made is proud to bring you the first supplements to earn the acceptance of the AMWA. Nature Made, trusted by the ones you trust.
For the 14 million women who worry about light to moderate bladder control, now there's new Double Protection Compose Panty and Pad System. The Compose Panty and Pad fit together for double protection. There's a super absorbent disposable pad, but the real difference is the separate washable panty. It gives you double protection with a quilted panel that won't let wetness through. So why worry? Get double protection with Double Protection Compose. Protection that goes beyond the pad.
Tonight we're going to take a closer look at the death of Diana. This Monday it will be a year since the crash in the Paris tunnel that claimed her life, along with Dodi Fayed and driver Henri Paul. An unforgettable time and unforgettable memories for so many people. 10,000 tons of flowers were spread through London. Nearly half the population of the planet watched the funeral. That's 2.5 billion people. After all this time, and after a year-long, multi-million-dollar investigation, you might think the Paris police would have a lot of the answers as to what caused the crash. They don't. ABC's Richard Gisbert reports from Paris.
Just this week, a manager at the Ritz Hotel was called in by investigators, the latest in a parade of about 350 witnesses. The investigation drags on and on, still looking for that mysterious Fiat Uno. They know it exists. They've interviewed 3,000 Fiat owners, but they can't find it. Still checking to see if the brakes in the Mercedes malfunctioned or if the airbag inflated prematurely. And new lines of investigation still surface. Now they want to know why the carbon monoxide level in driver Henri Paul's blood was so high. Why is it all taking so long?
They have very precise questions, and it takes a long time because they want to get every details they can get.
Some of the facts are beyond dispute. Henri Paul was legally drunk and on medication. As for the photographers who were pursuing Diana's car that night, a source close to the investigation says there isn't enough evidence to charge them with causing the crash. But some could well be charged under France's Good Samaritan law, which says they should have helped the crash victims, not photographed them. This is what the first policeman at the scene has testified. At no moment did one photographer assist me. They kept shooting. Diana was saying, "My God, my God." A few seconds later, she looked at me, dropped her head, and closed her eyes. The investigators are being so careful because so much rides on the outcome. The French don't want to be seen by the world as mishandling the case. Then there's the Al-Fayed family. If it's ruled Henri Paul's condition caused the crash, the Al-Fayeds, as the owners of the hotel that Paul worked for, could be sued by the survivor, bodyguard Trevor Rees-Jones, or by Diana's family. That may be why Mohammed Al-Fayed has stopped pushing conspiracy theories and started blaming Rees-Jones for failing to prevent the accident. Still, after a year of sifting through all the evidence, this most complex of investigations seems headed for the simplest of conclusions. The crash that killed Princess Diana was the most notorious case of drunk driving the world has ever known. Richard Gisbert, ABC News, Paris.
In just a moment, 1 year later, the world remains transfixed by Princess Diana. What will be her permanent legacy?
Spray and Wash says, why hold them back when you can
let them go, let them play, let them grow a little more each day, let them run, have some fun, let them go.
Spray and Wash knows. You got kids, you got stains. And nothing penetrates stains faster than new Spray and Wash Advanced Stain Care. Nothing. So dress them up and
let them go with new Spray and Wash.
Splendid looking Lexus. Thanks. Like my new Seville, no doubt, a technological marvel, blessed with the control of the world's most renowned driving system. System? Nope, that's right, you don't have the North Star system.
The all-new Seville, with all the power and control of the North Star system, now just $549 a month. It's not just new, it's what's next.
Do I want to know how much? Oh, it would break your heart.
The all-new Seville, it's what's next.
Sweet honey, crunchy nuts on classic Kellogg's Corn Flakes.
Sorry, did I wake you?
Kellogg's Honey Crunch Corn Flakes, an altogether great breakfast.
Life's an adventure because you're over 50 and still exploring. So take the Centrum made just for you, Centrum Silver, with age-essential nutrients specially adjusted to keep pace with your changing nutritional needs. Centrum Silver, it's a great time to be silver.
Tonight, who needs a gun to rob a bank? Hackers could do it with a computer.
Permission granted. We are in! Woo-hoo!
We got to see how it's done. Just how safe is your money?
Watch this 2020 Friday.
Finally tonight, the power of Diana's legacy. A recent poll found that only 6% of the British people planned to observe the anniversary of Diana's death. Perhaps because her death is commemorated every day. One royal historian has said if you'd been asleep the week she died, you might still think she was with us. As ABC's Jim Wooten reports, in a very real way, she is.
She did sparkle, this jewel in the drab royal crown, and if her life was the fluff and stuff of tabloids, her death did raise serious questions about the monarchy, the media, and about her own legacy.
Your candles burned out long before your legend ever will.
First, her image.
You can shake their hands and give them a hug. Heaven knows they need it.
It remains untarnished, nurtured by a year of good deeds done in her name. Hospitals, hospices, and AIDS clinics funded by her memorial trust, and the global ban on anti-personnel landmines. As for the royal family,
I, for one, believe there are lessons to be drawn from her life and from the extraordinary and moving reaction to her death.
harshly criticized for being distant, the Windsors have tried to soften their image.
Squeeze up more.
In South Africa with Nelson Mandela and the Spice Girls. Her Majesty visits a shopping center, McDonald's. Most polls show her popularity rising, and for the first time in years, many endorse Prince Charles as her successor. And what of the media?
It's you, press, that killed her. You're the scum.
A year ago, the British press vowed to keep its distance from Diana's sons, but they are an irresistible story.
He's gorgeous, he's sweet, I love him.
The promises are nearly forgotten now. Even the boys' surprise party for their father was spoiled by the press. The papers these days are heavy with anniversary features, proof that Diana's face and her memory still sell. She's become a marketing draw for $200 million in sales of merchandise so far. Still, the passion may be waning. A museum on the family estate drew far fewer paying customers than her brother expected, and a recent walk retracing her funeral route attracted only 300 people. So if the legacy of her life remains, the overwhelming emotion of a year ago is finally fading. Jim Wooten, ABC News, London.
Well, the hysteria may be gone, but I expect the fundamental changes she brought are only beginning. That's our report on World News Tonight. Later on 2020, the man who posed as a decorated Vietnam vet to get out of prison. On Nightline, the two sides of Bill Clinton. And all through the weekend, we'll be monitoring events in Russia as the crisis unfolds. Stay with ABC News for the latest. I'm Forrest Sawyer. For all of us here at ABC News, of course, have a great weekend and a very good night.
Monday, staying away from fat. If you think you're eating healthy, this warning may change your diet. Watch ABC's World News Tonight.
This has been a presentation of ABC News. More Americans get their news from ABC News than from any other source. ABC News, now always on.
I believe there should be a constitutional amendment outlawing broccoli and I believe one day I will win the Little League World Series.
Live Saturday at 3:30 Eastern.
Nominated for 4 Emmys. It may be the best lawyering I've ever heard tale of. The Practice, Sunday 10, 9 Central on ABC.
This is News 2 at 6.
They're losing basically a Nashville landmark here.
It's the end of an era for one of Music City's favorite restaurants. Tonight, East Nashville's Gerst House is hosting a customer appreciation night.
The popular hangout has been a tradition for nearly 30 years, and now the landmark is closing its doors to make way for the new football stadium. News 2's Kelly Simons live at the restaurant with more on the big goodbye. Kelly?
Bob and Brett, hundreds upon hundreds of longtime fans and friends of this restaurant have been stopping by to have one last cup of beer or one last pig knuckle or piece of bratwurst. And they're also reminiscing